Finally tonight.
Baby, you can hide. We can see your pretty side. Baby, you can hide. We can see your pretty side.
Graduate workers at Boston University are on strike demanding better pay after months of failed negotiations with the school. More than 6 weeks since they first walked off the job. Nikunj Khetan, a member of the BU Grad Workers Union, joins me on where the strike currently stands. Nikunj, thanks for being here. So you are a fifth-year mechanical engineering doctoral student. Can you explain to people what that means in terms of work you do that is not focused specifically on your own studies?
So beyond my own studies, which include research in my lab, me and many of my colleagues also cover teaching. So that can include teaching lectures, holding lab sessions for undergrads, holding office hours for undergrads. We also cover, community building events such as holding conferences and journal clubs and other organizational requests. Anything and everything in between that really makes the university run and operate. We are the cogs in the wheel. We're the cogs in the machine. I
would guess it varies from week to week depending on what you're doing, but could you offer an estimate of weekly, how many hours you spend altogether working?
That is a great question. I think some people would present us as part-time workers and part-time students. But in reality, for most grad workers, we spend more than 40 hours a week working on anything from research to educational requirements to teaching for the university.
And what are you, I know this varies from student to student, grad student to grad student, but what are you paid right now for the work that you do?
Right now, as an engineer, I'm paid about $40,000 a year, and that's on a 12-month stipend. A lot of my colleagues are paid on 9-month stipends, only about $28,000 a year, and there can be variation in between 28 and 40,000. But living in Boston, where the annual cost of living is $62,000 a year, for many of us, that's unsustainable. That has placed many of us in a position where we're at risk of being rent burdened or losing on housing or just not able to afford basic groceries or basic medical requirements.
So to the extent that you can summarize it quickly, and I know that there's a lot to cover here, but what are you seeking from the administration and how close are the union and the administration to forming some sort of deal at this point?
We are seeking some sort of contract or stipend or living wage that will allow us to live and work in the Boston area. And so that includes a living wage based off numbers that can be calculated on what it takes to be not rent burdened in Boston. We're also seeking, basic healthcare benefits, basic transportation benefits, and a number of other coverages and benefits that are essential to our membership. Right now, since we started the strike, the pace of bargaining has picked up. Proposals that the university has made at the table haven't come close to meeting our demands. We're still very far apart on substance. And we've been very disappointed in the university's approach. They've spread a lot of confusion and conflicting information, and they haven't really sought to address the core demands in our proposal. So
I should mention that we did ask the administration if they might be able to provide a guest. They were not able to do that, but they did point us to a public statement that BU had made. And one of the assertions made in that public statement is that the Grad Workers Union has been spreading misinformation, specifically about the impact the strike has been having on students. The statement said, "We have by necessity made curricular and other changes in some of these cases where teachers or assistants are striking. However, contrary to the union's assertions, we will not have people without appropriate training grade our students. Additionally, the union's assertion that we will simply have students grade themselves is a mischaracterization of our recommendation that instructors consider ungrading." I guess the question raised by that is, how disruptive would you say the strike has been to students as it has continued into the end of the school year?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we have many responsibilities, such as research and teaching, and we've really focused this past semester our strike on teaching, although some have focused on research as well. So in the early stages of our strike, what the dean there was referring to is, there were emails, for example, sent out by another dean suggesting generative AI could be used to substitute graduate labor, and frankly, that's insulting. Haphazard attempts to implement things like asking students to grade themselves, or that idea of ungrading, which I'm told is a complex pedagogical instrument. That takes time and effort and thought to implement on a level that is, satisfactory. Many of my peers and colleagues have spent a long time developing actual pedagogical instruction for our undergrads. And students paying over $60,000 a year in tuition deserve a real education, not something that they could find online or on ChatGPT.
My last question for you, Nikunj. You said that the two sides are very far apart and the union has been dismayed at what the administration has offered. Will this strike be continuing when school resumes next fall?
We will carry out the strike as long as it takes for us to win a fair and reasonable contract under which we can live in the city of Boston, live and work in the city of Boston.
Okay, Nikunj Khetan, thank you for being here and talking this through. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Adam.